Today's video, we're going to be talking about the 3 money mistakes that may be keeping you stuck and have you wondering why you're not moving forward financially. So I came up with this topic because I was going through and thinking about what are some of the common things that I'm seeing as to when I talk to women that's keeping them from moving forward. And I'm going to break it down because if you're saying things like, I'm saving money, I'm paying my bills on time, but I still can't seem to move forward, we're going to talk about that. If you're someone who's like, but I pay my bills on time every month, and yet, my credit cards, I'm still not seeing why I'm not seeing progress. We're going to talk about that too. So I'm going to walk through 3 key steps. But before we jump in, drop in the comments, what are some of the things that are getting in your way as you are working with your money, things that you're seeing that's keeping you stuck and you're, confused as to why you're not seeing progress. So let me know in the comments. I want to know exactly what are those things that you feel is getting in your way. And then I'm going to break down some things that'll help you get more clarity as to what's actually happening with your money and how you can move forward too. Okay, so this is one of the budget templates that it's a free template. You can download it, and I'll leave a link in the description. But this is something that I use, especially with someone who just wants to get a quick understanding of what's happening with their finances and why they're feeling stuck. So I'm going to walk through with you the 3 common mistakes that I'm seeing as you are doing your budget and why you're not able to progress and how you can actually make a change with it, okay? So the first thing I want to point out is when you are creating a plan for your money, I know, as you can see here, I call it monthly spending plan. You can call it spending plan, you can call it budget, whatever is going to make you feel more comfortable and not resistant to doing it. You call it whatever you want to call it, okay? So what I like to call it is a spending plan. So the main thing that you want to do when you have a spending plan is to outline what your actual income is. So as you see in this column here, we're looking at the income. So in this example, and these are not real numbers, these are numbers that I'm sharing here just to give you an idea of what it looks like and what I'm seeing. So I'm looking at this from the after the fact perspective. So essentially this month is over and you are looking back to see what's happening with your finances. This is what's going to be what you're looking at. Thanks for joining. So to give you an idea, when you are planning your expenses, because this is the one of the top areas that I'm seeing, is you want to make sure that you are calculating exactly what is hitting your bank account. So here you're putting in your planned expenses, right? And I want to highlight this because this is one of those areas where I'm seeing over and over again is that not having real clarity as to what's actually coming in with your finances is what's going to throw you off every single time, no matter how much you're budgeting or planning your expenses. If you don't have a true accuracy as to what's happening with your income, this may throw you off. So the first step is for you to get clear on what's coming in and document that here. So as you enter that information in, you'll want to enter in, I have these in 4 different buckets. Savings, again, because we're always prioritizing ourselves first. We're putting aside money to save for our freedom fund. We're putting aside money to invest. And then we're putting aside money for those things that we enjoy, vacation funds, and then the things that we may not enjoy so much, but we got to do it, right? Your home maintenance, auto maintenance, things like that. The next bucket here is going to be your priority and fixed expenses. Now, this category is all of those bills. Anything that has a due date that you need to pay for, that's what you're going to put into this bucket here. Next column over here, these are all your variable expenses, things that don't have a due date, groceries, dining out, things that you do to enjoy your life or just to kind of keep things going, right? The other thing that I highlight here is your debts. What are all of the debt payments that you have? And you list them out. And I'm going to break that down in a second as to why this is important and why you see it this way. Okay. So as you're joining, drop in the comments, let me know where you're watching from. We're talking about the 3 mistakes that I see high earners make as they are planning their money and what's keeping them stuck and why they're not seeing progress. So the number one thing is that I'm seeing is you're creating a budget and then that's it. right? You're creating a budget and that's it. You're not doing anything else with it. You put your numbers in there. So in this example, you put it out. You're like, okay, I plan my income. I plan my savings and my expenses. I should have $110 left over at the month. I'm Gucci. And then you put it in a drawer, you forget about it. And then at the end of the month, you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Why? I'm supposed to have money left over. Why do I still feel like I'm stretched thin? Well, this is one of the reasons is that when you create your spending plan, it is not something that you create and then you shove it into a drawer or keep it on your notes app or have it in the little app on your phone and then don't look at it. You want to make sure that when you plan your spending, you also have to check back to see, is this in alignment with the goal that I set for myself? Is this in alignment with what I thought was going to happen this month? Because that's how you keep yourself accountable. That's how you understand what are the areas that are keeping you stuck. Where do you find yourself spending more? So mistake number one is setting that budget and then forgetting about it. So you want to make sure that you're always going back and checking what's happening with your money. And hey, NYC, welcome. What's happening with your money, and then making sure you are tracking those expenses, okay? So, because in this example, just keep this in mind. In this example, you'll see that this person has balanced all their money out. They look at the end and like, okay, I should have $110 left over after I spend everything, right? Okay, so we're going to go through and explain what really happens in this example. So I'm going to jump on over here to this variable spending account. So you see here, this person, they manage their spending, or they plan their spending. They should have $100 left over, gone through the month. Now we come on over here and we look at their variable spending, right? So here's what they planned for the month. And then here is what actually happened for that month. So they've gone back now, they put in their money and they're looking at what actually happened to their money. And what can you tell me has happened in this particular person's budget here, right? They planned that they were going to spend $2,025, right? But what actually happened? How much did they actually spend for this particular month? $2,800, right? And so this is mistake number two that I'm seeing, is that a lot of times when you're planning your expenses, you are looking only at your bills. You're saying, okay, I planned out my bills. I'm on track with my bills. So let's scroll down. They're on track. They planned $2,515 and they had $2,515 that they spent, right? On track with it. But the number one area that I see that most women get tripped up with is that they are overspending in their variable expenses. And I know one of the things that are tripping you up is that you may have these variable expenses, but you're also using your credit card for your variable expenses. So you're saying, okay, I'm going to use this card because I want to build up points on my account. So you're swiping the card, you're spending, but what you don't realize is that you are actually overspending. And I know you're probably thinking, well, I pay my bill off every month. Well, yes, you may pay your credit card bill off every month, but if you're overspending on your credit card, and let's go back over to this category and let's look at what actually happened. So here you see the plan category, you've spent $110 or you planned for $110, but what actually happened is that you overspent your variable spending account by $775, most likely using a credit card. That's what I'm seeing, because the disconnect is, well, I have money in my account. I'm paying my credit card bills off every month. Why is it that I just still can't seem to move forward? Well, you have to understand is if you're in the negative $665 every month, right? Eventually it's going to catch up to you. It may not catch up, right away because you're getting that influx of that $3,400 a paycheck. You're paying down the credit card for that period. But then you start to feel a little bit thin, like, ooh, I'm starting to feel this pinch, like I don't have enough money. And a lot of where you're going to find where most of your money is going is checking that variable spending category. So what that's going to look like for you is going through your expenses each month, not just looking at your bills, but really gut checking yourself as to, okay, if I say I'm going to spend $500, am I actually spending $500 or am I spending a little bit more than that? And I always like to say this, don't budget for what you think you should budget for. Budget for what you're actually going to spend, right? I know you may be averaging $1,000 a month in groceries, and then you're like, well, I don't want to spend $1,000. I want to spend like $500. And that's okay if you feel like you can realistically stay at that line item. Remember, budgeting is not about you restricting yourself. It's about you being realistic with how you're managing your money. And it's going to tell you, based on what you want to do with your income, do you need to make more money, or do you need to find other areas you want to reduce so that you can live in the way that you want? Because when you look at this budget, it's not about saying, oh, I spent, $2,025. I need to cut somewhere. It may be simply that you need to reshift your priorities, right? Like, I really don't want to be spending $400 towards groceries so that I can, save a little bit. That's your prerogative to do, right? It is about you looking at where your money's actually going and then allocating it to the vision that you have. Because at the end of the day, you're still in control. I always like to tell my clients, when you look at your variable spending, this is the bucket. I mean, let's look at that. That's about $2,000 that you have, that you are in control of how you want to direct that income, right? That's why I say this is the area where you have the most control. And then when we jump into number 3, even though you are paying your debts off each month, and I kind of alluded to this already, you're paying so much money in debt payments. And that's also what's taking up a good chunk of your budget. So I'm going to scroll over here. And this is exactly why I like to separate out debt payments, because when people are looking at their budgets and you're looking at what's happening with my money, where is all of my income going? This is going to give you a good insight. So for this particular budget here, this person has about $1,000 going towards debt payments, right? Excuse me. And as you can see, they have some student loans. They're paying about $250 towards student loans. They have $250 going towards credit card number 1, $75 going towards credit card number 2, and $475 going towards their auto loan. So when you look at the areas where you can actually adjust to how you want to bring more cash flow back into your pockets, the 2 places you can look at is, number 1, where are you spending money towards your debts? And number 2, looking at your overall variable expenses. These are the 2 areas where you actually have the control to make a change, that you can actually bring cash flow back into your pockets. Now, can you do that with your fixed expenses? Absolutely. But there's going to probably be a little bit more adjustments that you may have to make. I know, like for your mortgage, the only way you can really change that if you're downsizing or, changing, deciding to rent versus buying a mortgage, but not much flexibility in that area, right? Can you change your water bill and your electricity? Absolutely. You can turn the lights off. You can, reduce expenses that way, but not as much flexibility there. But you're going to have more of that flexibility when you are looking at those variable expenses, as well as those debt payments. Okay. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Let me know. But the main thing that I want you to look at here, I'm sorry, I'm trying to work 2 screens and it keeps clicking over here. But the main thing that I want you to look at, and if you come up here to the breakdown, I love this screenshot because it's a way for you to actually have insights as to where your money's going. I hear this too often. I don't know where my money's going. I'm saving money. I'm paying off my debts, my credit cards every month, but I just don't know where all my money is going each month. This is what's going to show you where your money is going each month. If you're accurately tracking exactly what's happening with your money, when you plug it into this file, it'll actually show you what's happening with your finances, right? So if you look at this person here, you see that about 33% of their income goes to their priority fixed expenses. About 37%, so a little bit more than their priority fixed expenses, is going to their variable spending. Their 14% of their income is going towards debt, and about 15% going towards their savings, right? And then when you look at this, at what I mentioned before, when you look at how do you break down, you can say almost 50% of their income is going towards debt and their variable expenses, right? And so when you look at that, from the surface, you may say, I don't have any money. I need to make more money. But in reality, it may be that you're just not aligned with the goal that you want for yourself. I always say this, in order for you to actually live the life that you desire to live and to feel confident that your money is actually working the way that you want it to work, you have to have clarity as to what's going on with your finances, how you're directing your income, and understand that ultimately you are in control. But first, you need to get clarity. And that starts with having that understanding of what's going on with your finances. So when you look here again, with almost 50% of your income going towards your variable expenses and your debts, this is an opportunity for you to then look in and say, okay, well, one, do I have a debt payoff plan where I can actually free up some cash flow to bring money back into my account, right? Number two, am I okay with where I'm spending my money for my variable expenses, right? If you go back over a lot of the variable expenses, there was almost, I would say, we're looking at almost $1,000 spent on just food alone. Not saying that's a bad thing. If you are okay with that, then that's okay. That's what you want for your budget, right? But if you're looking at that number and be like, ooh, I'm spending $1,000 on dining out, then that's your gut check to say, okay, here's an area where I may want to monitor and adjust to what you feel more comfortable with, right? Same thing. If you're okay with spending $500 on clothes, $500 a month, again, that's where you have to have that gut check conversation with yourself and decide, am I okay with this or do I want to adjust? And I want to say this again, it's not about you just restricting and cutting things out. If you enjoy shopping, if that's something that brings you joy and that's an area of your spending plan that you want to put money towards, then put money towards that. The goal is for you to look at what are the areas that you are not okay with where your money is going, and then redirecting it to the areas that you do want it to go to, right? If you're someone who's like, I'm ready, I want to build my first 6-figure investment portfolio. Okay, well, then you want to take a look over here and say, all right, well, if I want to build my first 6-figure investment portfolio, am I directing the amount of money that I need to reach that goal within a time frame that I've set for myself? Those are the questions that you want to ask yourself, right? Because a lot of times we have the disconnect between what we actually want for our life and what we're currently doing right now. See, the goal is that you want to have the vision and then make sure that the actions and the things that are happening right now is actually leading you on the path towards you getting to where you need to be. And that all starts with you having clarity. Again, and this, I'll drop the link in the description on the replay on YouTube. So if you want this spreadsheet here, you can download my financial clarity guide and you can plug your numbers in. The great thing that I love about this, it's you plug your numbers in, it automatically calculates it for you. So as long as you're accurate with the numbers that you're plugging in and to what you're actually spending, you're pulling your bank statements, you're going in and plugging in the information, you will get a good assessment as to what are the areas that are keeping you stuck. You'll get to understand, is it that I have a lot of debt? Am I, spending too much on my variable spending? And when I say spending too much, meaning spending too much as in what too much means to you, right? Yes, there are guidelines, especially in the finance industry, when you look at, say, a 50-30-20 budget, where 50% will go towards your priority fixed expenses, 30% goes towards your wants, and 20% towards savings. If you want like a general guideline to use just to gauge, you can use that, right? But my philosophy is sometimes a lot of those cookie cutter models don't necessarily work, and it often leaves you more frustrated and overwhelmed because you're trying to fit, your personal situation into this cookie cutter thing that may not work for your life, right? And that's why, when I work with clients, it's not about trying to stick you into a box. It's what is it that you want for your life? What is your vision? What are you working towards? And then designing that plan to get you towards that place, right? And then on further, but this is where you're going to get the most clarity as to what's actually happening with your finances so that you can create a plan that's going to move you forward, okay? You're looking at this and you're like, okay, yes, I budget, I've tried those things, but I'm still finding that, I'm just having issues with being able to keep my savings, right? That's another thing, right? Because it's all about making sure that what you're actually planning for your money is actually in alignment, meaning that if you said that you're going to spend, $1,500 on your variable expenses, but then you're ending up spending $2,000. What I help my clients with is looking at what are those patterns, what's happening, what's coming up, and really digging in, because a lot of times too, while yes, we have the budget is not the first place that you really should start with. The first place you should start with is getting clarity on what it is that you want first with your finances. Then looking at, what do you value most? What are the things that are most important to you? Because the budget is essentially going to be what's supporting your vision and supporting you being able to achieve that vision and goal, right? So if you're finding that I had this vision, but you've done the budgeting, you're paying your bills, you're doing all the things, but you're still feeling like you're not able to move forward, that's what I help my clients with, right? Open it up so I can help more women achieve their financial goals and really move from getting stuck. Because a lot of what I'm seeing is that you desire to have that six-figure investment portfolio. You desire to have those savings. You desire to be in a place where you're moving forward and not having to worry about, oh my gosh, why do I still have credit card debt, or continuing to be in a cycle of credit card debt, and you actually want to break free. That's what I help my clients do. I essentially help you design a plan for your life in alignment with your goals. Apply below. You can book a call with me. We can talk through what your challenges are. And if there's alignment, it's a great fit, we can talk about forward. Well, that is today's live. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. And again, until next time, here's to your financial freedom.